With the release of Touhou 16 just around the corner, I wanted to give my ideas about the demo and what I think about the future of this game. Keep in mind though that this video will mostly be talking about the current status of the survival gameplay of the game. I am not going to guess the final boss or ask when Mima returns or any of that stuff. I am just here to look at those big, juicy bullets. I will not go much into detail of how the game works at its basics, so there's a chance that you will only fully understand the video if you have already played the demo for a while. Finally, this video will mostly focus on lunatic gameplay, so occasionally I might say things that would not be true for other modes, especially when it comes to the use of season releases. What I really enjoy about Touhou 16 is the fact that every season has its own playstyle, which leads to a lot of possible ways to play the game. Spring seems to allow you to play a very simple playstyle, where you mostly want to live on the high homing firepower of your shots and only release if there are a lot of bullets on the screen or if you're in need of a substitute bomb. Winter still somewhat resembles spring, in that you're mostly using the high firepower of your shot type to get through the game, though in the current state of the game you can also basically skip every boss fight by putting your release on the boss and watch them melt. Summer is a playstyle that allows you to use your releases as a secondary weapon, where you can use them offensively to kill big fairies before they become a threat and deal some start-off damage to the boss, but in return the orbital is very weak, and you will not be able to deal much damage if you do not press C the whole time. And finally, there's Autumn, which allows you to try and chain your releases into new releases, shaping a very aggressive risk and reward playstyle which in its current state can give you a lot of reward. The characters also provide different playstyles, though they are still kind of in sync with their season abilities. Reimu is a simple and comfortable shot type with her homing and her small hitbox. Marissa is a fast powerhouse, who is meant to blast through bosses and get the most out of strict routes. Cherno is a character that relies on her bombs to graze and gather as much season as she can, and Aya is a risk versus reward shot that has crazy potential due to her speed and extremely flexible bomb. All these different possible playstyles have already shown that people are able to play this game in many different ways, to the point where all 16 possible combinations get used. And because of this, not everyone clings to only one or two shot types, which seems to happen a lot in some of the other Touhou games. Despite the fact that I really enjoyed this demo, it is clear to me that this game is going to have some problems if Zoon doesn't change anything. First of all, Autumn and Winter are outright broken. If you have seen my speedrun from when the game was out for only a few days, you have seen that you can almost entirely skip every boss fight in the game by using Winter, just by getting close to them and pressing C. The release that Winter has deals an incredible amount of damage to bosses and makes it so that you only have to worry about the stages, on which you can now use resources you would otherwise have lost at the boss. Autumn allows you to constantly chain releases by using the season gathered from previous releases to power up your next release, which also results in you getting a lot of point item value, much more than you could get with any other season. You can already reach the point item value cap at stage 3, which is ridiculous since in most games you cannot reach this point at all. Currently, this also means that you will get many more lives with Autumn than you would get with any of the other seasons, and even if Zoon ditched the score-based lives for the full game, you will probably be able to get resources from cancelling bullets in some particular way, meaning that Autumn would still be very overpowered. The second thing I want to mention is Stage 2. To me, Stage 2 feels very pointless, as you can barely use your season mechanics on it, and the Danmaku on it is either awkward, uninspired, or just way too simplistic. The boss of Stage 2 also has very dull non-spells that are a lot more difficult to deal with certain shot types than with other ones, and they are just incredibly obnoxious. The only thing I like about Stage 2 are the spell cards that the boss uses. I know Zoon doesn't change patterns too much from the way they are in the demo, but I really hope that he could take another good look at the stage and decide to remake some portions of it. Eternity also has a lot of the same, using basically the same pattern 4 times in a row with only the last spell feeling somewhat different. However, I really enjoy Stage 3 and also think that the Stage 1 Danmaku is good enough. I want to finish this video with a bunch of predictions regarding how I think this game will turn out and how this game will be received. This is not going to be a hard game. Zoon also mentioned this in one of his blog posts, and it's pretty easy to tell from the gameplay that he wanted to take things down a notch from the terror that is Touhou 15. Even if the bullet patterns decide to become a lot more difficult, the amount of releases you can use and the amount of lives you get will balance this out. The game will probably be around the difficulty of Imperishable Night, Perfect Cherry Blossom and Mountain of Faith, being one of the easiest games in the series and being very lenient with its resources. I expect soon to do something about Winter being able to cheese every boss fight, and I also expect him to fix the damage bug that Winter currently has where you deal less damage if you stop shooting. I also really hope he can fix the bug where cancelling too many bullets with your release crashes the game. I do think that Autumn is going to stay broken, though I hope soon can fix the point item value cap being reached at stage 3, so that the endgame for scoring doesn't reduce itself to a bootleg version of Mountain of Faith. Also, regarding the reception of the game, I think people will generally like this game. There will be a vocal minority yelling that the newest game is terrible, that the music is bad and that it feels like a fan game, but these people have always been around as far as I know, and almost always consist of the same people, so I wouldn't pay too much attention to those, especially when the game is just out. Also, I hope people will not draw conclusions about the game from day one and then never take a look at any of the new discoveries that people will make later on in the game. Touhou games, just like the music in them, usually take time to grow on people. I remember when people were saying that Clownpiece was a terrible character, whereas now, she's generally pretty liked. I also remember that people thought the scoring in Touhou 16 would not reach the billions, but I think we know how that turned out. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and we'll see how right I will be on the 11th of August 2017. Also Zune, please make it so that you lose your spell capture if you use releases, because you don't deserve to say you have capped a spell if you didn't dodge a single thing on it.